Margie here. I am such a big fan of essential oils. I use them every day, and they can help your joints, your bones, and your overall health. So today we're going to delve into this topic with our very special guest, who happens to be an essential oil expert, Dr. Eric Zielinski, who's also known as Dr. Z. And he's a national best-selling author. He's written two books on essential oils, The Healing Power of Essential Oils and The Essential Oils Apothecary. He's dedicated to helping families enjoy thriving, abundant lives, and he offers practical solutions for chronic health challenges, preventative care, and toxic-free living. And today, what he's going to go over is what is the research behind essential oils? How can we use them in our lives? And what are some do-it-yourself formulas that you can put to use right away to help your bones, overall health, and your joints? So this is full of lots of great information. Stay tuned. Welcome, Dr. Z. It's always so great to see you, and I'm so glad you're joining me today on the podcast.
Yeah, Margie, thanks for having me. I love it. And I just had the privilege of interviewing you recently as well. So it's always fun to go back and forth. Love and appreciate the work that you're doing. And it's unbelievable. Just unbelievable just what's happening and the need that is being filled by your work and other work out there. So folks, I hope you enjoy this conversation because I think it's just going to be you and I just like chatting over a cup of tea.
Absolutely. But we're going to share so many good things. I mean, you are the king of the do-it-yourself and helpful things that we can put into our lives to really make a big difference. So I'm very excited about that. But you know what? Let's just start out because it's been over 10 years, Dr. Z. I can't believe it, since your first summit on essential oils, where you really brought to life the power of essential oils and how there's so many things that a lot of us just never thought about. But what's happened? I know you did a big review and you've really been, researching what's going on. So you want to share a little bit of insights into where we are now in terms of essential oils, and then we'll go into specifically, which I'm really excited about, things people can do for their bones and joints.
It's been a wild 10 years. I mean, when I look back, I just turned 45 years old and to think that our first essential oil summit at the time reached 165,000 people in 2015. And it was a groundbreaking event because it was the first time ever where a discussion about essential oils was had in a non-branded zone. So we had representatives from doTERRA, from Young Living, we had aromatherapists, we had bloggers, influencers, we had functional medicine experts, we had researchers like me, and we all just talked. We talked about how we use essential oils, what they look like in clinical practice, what the research has to say from a clinical setting. And it just kind of shaped a different perspective of this market that was hot. I mean, we're talking white hot, not even red hot, because at that point, millions upon millions of people were moving towards this empowering my health. I want to make over my medicine cabinet kind of mentality. And essential oils are in the best still medicinal property that we see in nature. There really is nothing like essential oils that we see in nature. It's because of the concentrated nature of them, right? And so, I mean, to be frank, right? I guess pun intended, because frankincense is one of the most popular essential oils. When you go into a frankincense grove, for example, and let's say Sudan or somewhere in the Middle East, you're not going to see a pool of lavender. You're not going to see a pool of frankincense. You're going to see resin that comes out of the tree that you need tons of it, right? We're talking metric tons of this stuff to steam distill down to get one itty bitty bottle. So this is natural insofar as this is extracted from nature, but you're not going to see this in nature. And I make a point of that to say, unlike herbs, which you could go, like we have an herb garden, you could go to your store and get some herbs, you could get a supplement, you could dehydrate things. That has a very minor therapeutic effect, and which is a good therapeutic effect. And you could increase dose and you could have a physiological response. But nothing is as close to pharmaceutical medicine like this. And it's just because of concentrated form. You're looking at like 3 to 5 pounds of lavender flowers. You're looking at literally 700,000 rose petals. You're looking at 50 rinds of a lemon that are cold pressed together like they cold press olive oil. And so when we look at how medicine has evolved, especially with the advent of the antibiotic after the World War II situation, because at that point, medics were using essential oils in the war, right? People were using herbs and poultices and things. We see that the chemical structure for all drugs today, other than some of the more, mRNA stuff that is way beyond nature, any drug up until within the last 5 to 10 years had its basis in plant chemistry, and that plant chemistry is essential oils. So as we talk today, and I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about inflammation, we're going to talk about bone health, but when we look back, like, how did this all start, right? How did we all start? And we started with the willow tree. We started with pain relief. We started with how aspirin was developed when they extracted this salicylate compound in the tree that our ancestors knew could help with pain for years and years. And then when Bayer discovered that you can extract it, multiply it, put a chemical coating around it so it doesn't essentially have a never-ending shelf life, it changed how people looked at health. So as we've gone through the last 10 years, it's been very fascinating to see just the preponderance of research, because we're talking tens of millions of people now are using essential oils, where 20, 30 years ago, I mean, kind of jokingly, this was for the hippies that were, putting on patchouli. I mean, people were not using essential oils like they are today, just because of mass awareness, just because people just didn't know. Now you could get essential oils literally anywhere. I mean, Walmart sells them. Not that I'm saying you get your essential oils from Walmart, because there's definitely different qualities and different grades, and there's different adulteration that we got to talk about. Again, we cover all that stuff in our books. But the reality is the awareness and the demand. And with the demand, and this is something, folks, we got to remember, we vote with our dollar. More than anything else, our dollar counts. And as millions upon millions of Americans, and now globally, people are buying essential oils, the research has just skyrocketed, because we need to show, are the claims that our ancestors have claimed for hundreds, thousands of years, are they true? Right? Is traditional aromatherapy real? Is it just a farce? What about that mouse study? Can we evaluate that in human trials? And so we're seeing a lot more research, which has been wonderful. And the thing is this, and this, I guess, I shouldn't be surprised, but nothing has been overwhelmingly changed in the research other than substantiating the things that we know. It's not like anything has been disproven that we've been talking about for 15, 20, 30 years. If anything, the research keeps on supporting over and over and over again. And there are a lot of misconceptions, Margie, about essential oils. And the research is now showing, hey, they are safer than you might think if you use them accordingly. And one thought that comes to me, it's such a hot topic in our world, and I'm sure in your audience as well, we're concerned about our gut health, because, our immune system is housed in the gut. And I'm sure you've talked a lot about immunoporosis, right? This concept of osteoporosis is really stems from an immune system reaction, and ultimately how our body responds to cytokines and inflammation. And so when we look at gut health, which is the command center for a lot of this, a lot of people are being concerned. Should I be leery of using essential oils because they're, quote, antimicrobial? Like, this stuff kills viruses, the flu virus. This stuff kills bacteria, fungi. Well, they're extremely antimicrobial. It could help prevent infection. They are using essential oils in animal feed instead of antibiotics. Like, there's a lot of cutting edge research here with positive agriculture. But what does that mean for the gut? Does that mean it's going to be like an antibiotic and kill everything, right? Because we don't want that. We want to leave the healthy bacteria alone. Is it like hand sanitizer that kills the good and the bad microbes on our skin? That could maybe lead to leaky skin. That could lead to leaky gut. That could lead to leaky brain. Well, we've had this instinct, this thought process that no, they're safe because they come from nature. Then they did some preliminary research some decades ago, and they found that there's something known as cell selectivity, where by just design, and as a person of faith, I always go back to just God designed plants to heal, not to destroy. And so there's something in this, and the researchers call it cell selectivity, where it leaves the healthy bacteria alone and it targets the bad bacteria, because this is essentially what we would consider the immune system of the plant, because this is what helps the plant heal, helps the plant protect itself from vectors. Well, there's been more research recently, specifically on lemon oil and oregano and others that have gone back and they've tested it again and again and again. And like, look, you won't hurt your microbiome. You won't hurt your skin microbiome, your oral microbiome. I don't care what holistic dentists are saying out there. They're wrong. They're not going to hurt your gut microbiome if used properly. Of course, you can't put 20 drops in your mouth. You're going to burn yourself. Like there's wisdom in how we use essential oils, but if used the right way, safely diluted in proper ratios, and we kind of cover all that stuff to simplify things a little bit, but it's safe and it's effective. And it's essentially how we've been designed to interact with nature. And I've just been shocked because over and over and over, these literature reviews and these human trials are coming up and saying the same thing that we've known for years. Yes, they help with cancer. Yes, they help with Alzheimer's. Yes, they help with osteoporosis. There's been, and we'll talk in just a minute, but unbelievable research in the last 2-3 years specifically talking about bone health and how essential oils can actually help repair your bone health and help prevent osteoporosis at the cellular level, not just reducing inflammation. We're talking osteoclastic effect and ability. So, wow. And all that to be said is I'm grateful because, when I first started researching this 15 years ago, there was research, but not the 30 plus thousand-ish, whatever studies there are. I should have checked before I mentioned that number. Maybe I'll check really quick. But how many studies are there right now on essential oils? There's tens of thousands of them. And that's something we need to consider is not just the essential oil themselves, but they're extracting isolated components. And they're saying, hey, how does this limonene? Because we know that limonene can help with bone health. Let's extract the limonene and let's see what can happen now with that. Because that's really how drugs are made. So I don't want to ramble on here. I'll quote it because I have to. 39,268 studies just on the word essential oil that you could see in PubMed. But then there's tens of thousands of studies on menthol, limonene, cinnamaldehyde, all those components that we do know can help with bone health and other things.
Hey, Margie here. As a physical therapist, I know firsthand how important exercise is for our bones, overall health, and happiness. And unfortunately, there's a lot of confusion on what exercises are safe and effective for people with osteoporosis. That's why I created this handout that contains a 30-minute video where I explain the concepts so you understand the do's and don'ts when it comes to exercise. And this is important because this way you can go into any class and know what you should be doing and what you should avoid. Because too many people are doing exercises that actually increase their risk of spinal fractures. I also included videos of me demonstrating effective balance, posture, and weight-bearing exercises you can put into your day right away. So all you need to do to access this handout, it's free, is go to tinyurl.com/osteoporosis exercises. So it's tinyurl.com, again, /osteoporosis exercises, or you can click the link in the show notes. Now back to the show. It's so exciting because this is something we can put into our life, and the fact that research is on board and it's something that's so doable, but it can be overwhelming. And I think I'm a big person against overwhelm because there's just so much information. So what I love that you can do is help distill this for us. And that's what you've done in your work. You've made this easy and things that people can, practical so that people can put into their lives. So you want to just share, let's talk about the bone health, because I think, this is a bone health audience. You want to just share some of the things that have come up where essential oils are really, helping with bones.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to pull up a study here because there was a study published in 2021 that evaluated some of the most common essential oils that researchers have looked at over the years regarding bone health, and some that we don't necessarily think of because we think of St. John's wort as more of like a supplement or a tincture. But here's just a quote directly from the research study itself. The most commonly used essential oils include, this is bone health. And we got to think holistically around the world. And that's something I want to take a step back because I know you have a global audience. But a lot of people who, and I think this is something Americans need to remember more so, is myself as an American researcher or based out of America. We use essential oils that are common to the companies that sell them. because of a variety of different reasons. But there are hundreds of different plant essential oils and extracts that the globe uses, other countries use on a regular basis. The problem is we can only get what we could buy, right? So that's something to remember. And I try to always go back to the common things like the lavenders and the frankincenses and the gingers, because those are the things that we could buy, at least here in America, where I live, in other countries. But when we talk about other herbs and spices that I've never heard of, there's a lot of research on that stuff. So I always try to balance it. So with that said, I've never heard or used of white poplar oil, but white poplar, St. John's wort, cinnamon, thyme, rosemary, ginger, these oils, and this is what the research studies said, getting published in PubMed, have been proven. And that's a really powerful word, by the way. To get something published in a research paper and to get it indexed in PubMed is not an easy task. And to use certain terminology like proven, they typically say suggest or potential or this. No, proven. These essential oils have been proven to improve bone properties, such as mineral turnover marker normalization, bone loss inhibition, plasma calcium, again, plasma calcium, and vitamin D increases because of what the essential oil can do to the whole body, reaching homeostasis and help the body absorb vitamins and minerals better. That's wild, by the way. That's a really significant point that we all need to think about. How well is your body absorbing the chemicals, or let's say the plant chemicals, the vitamins and minerals that you're ingesting with your supplements? Essential oils actually act as a carrier and help your body absorb them better. They actually have been shown to help chemotherapy be more effective in cancer patients. They help the body absorb and assimilate. They increase bone mineral density, reduce inflammation, and oxidative stress prevention. And these essential oils, again, the ones, St. John's wort, cinnamon, and that would be cinnamon bark, because cinnamon bark is rich in cinnamaldehyde. There is cinnamon leaf. And that kind of just opens up the discussion, like, what are we talking about? Different parts of the plant. And when you look at the orange tree, for example, you got the tree itself and you got the orange and then you got the blossom. And all of those things can be extracted to make essential oils. So neroli is the actual blossom, the beautiful flower that's only in bloom for what, days or a couple of weeks. And then once the blossom goes away, then the fruit grows, and then you can extract the citrus rind or the oil from the rind. So we see in cinnamon, for example, you could get the oil from the leaf or from the bark. And the bark is rich in cinnamaldehyde, which has been shown to actually help with acetylcholinesterase inhibition, which we know is the key factor of Alzheimer's. So now there's a lot more research being done on how essential oils can help with Alzheimer's and end-stage aging disease. And that's why we're seeing osteoporosis, because cinnamaldehyde is a rich chemical.
But what I'm hearing to all these great things, I will show your cards, because I think you go through this in your cards. But how do people actually, okay, that sounds great.
Yeah.
What way do I take this in? Do I take this into my skin? Do I take this into aromatherapy? So that it is effective in these ways. What in the research, did they show different ways that are most effective, or a combination?
Yeah. And we have, and we'll go more into, we just recently published a deck. It really kind of, what it's been is we've written 3 best-selling books, and we've covered on how to use essential oils in depth for osteoporosis, joint issues, cancer, Alzheimer's, general health, menopause, women's health. Like, all of our books cover something different. And I was talking to my publisher, like, hey, why don't we do like a best hits of how to incorporate essential oils in a day-to-day, whether it's your cleaning products, whether it's your medicine cabinet, whether it's your body care, just things to do for general wellness, energy, sleep, inflammation. And if you could just start with that, making essential oils part of your life, because ultimately, here's the reality. You're using and you're around fake essential oils all day long. And it's what you're ingesting in your natural or artificial flavoring, which is in basically all foods now. It's what you're smelling in your cleaning and body care products when you see parfum or fragrance. And essentially, and they're all over the place with other industrial products and off-gassing from other things that we're exposing ourselves to. And so when we think anything you taste, anything you smell that's made in a lab, which is essentially everything now, then we're being inundated by those fake synthetic essential oils. And what that's doing, Margie, and this is something that I've really been hitting home on since this 10 years of since our first online summit and since my first book, and I just really been diving deep into this, is what this inundation of synthetic fragrances, synthetic or quote natural flavoring, which is again chemically solvent extracted from essential oils. Ultimately, we have no idea what the end product is because they don't tell us what the end product is, but it's been in contact with hundreds, potentially different chemicals and different experiences just to get to making your lemon, lime, Zevia, whatever flavored sparkling water taste the way it does. And so what we're finding is being exposed to these things, these fake essential oils, essentially processed, triggers this low-grade inflammation in the body because the body doesn't know what to do with it. And when we go to like I mentioned earlier, the immune system aspect of osteoporosis, it's that chronic low-grade inflammation because the body really doesn't care. And the immune system is so intelligent, it doesn't discriminate, whether it's a mold spore, a virus, a bacteria, a fake essential oil, a synthetic, petrochemical in your supplement. It doesn't care. It just fights it. It gets alerted to what's happening and it says something isn't right. It doesn't interact properly with the body. So we need to do our best to process it, to get it out. And we're finding that this constant exposure to these, again, fake essential oils, which I'm telling y'all, they're everywhere. They're all over. And highlight a couple things. Just go through your mind, just in your mind if you can. It might help. Like me, I always like to close my eyes. It just helps clear away the distractions. Look at your bathroom. Just go to your bathroom really quick with me. What does your bathroom look like? What does it smell like? Do you have one of those, what they call poo-poo sprays on the toilet to help, smell better? Do you have a plug-in? Do you have an aerosol? What cleaning products are in your bathroom? Okay, think about that. Go to your laundry room. What are you cleaning your clothes with? What are you rinsing your clothes out with? Is there a rinse? Is there kind of like an oxy boost thing? Does it have a smell to it? Chances are it does. Now maybe go to the pantry. Look at your organic gluten-free snacks. Does it say flavoring, natural, artificial? Go to your fridge, right? And you go and you think like, wow, it's like I am exposed to these fake synthetic essential oils. And all they do is because the body does not know it naturally. It does not have the receptors around the cells. It doesn't have an interaction. It triggers through the brain a noxious, this is dangerous response. It immediately puts you in fight or flight. And it's not like, whoa, I have a panic attack. And that's the biggest misnomer. And why am I talking about that in the context of this book or this little deck? Because one by one, piece by piece by piece, swap by swap by swap, we could start swapping out that stuff, which consistently reduces our exposure to the bad stuff. And so, yeah, it's not like you're going to, maybe you do, because I am so sensitive to this at this point. If I go to someone's home and it's inundated and it's surrounded by and just I don't know what else would to say. You're bathed in those chemicals because they're in the air. I'll go to someone's bathroom. I'll sometimes have to literally hold my breath or do whatever I could do to like breathe under my shirt because I'll get a little, like my heart will start to race. I'll get an immediate nasal drip. Maybe I'll cough. Maybe I'll just feel like if you don't get that experience, that doesn't mean it's not bad for you though, because a lot of people don't get that experience because they're not sensitive to it because they've been around it. And thank God, because you've adapted to it.
I want to just share something that I can relate to as well. I'm the same way. I've always been sensitive, but I really have eliminated, as absolutely much as I can. So when I go to the health club, now here at the health club, people are healthy, exercising. I literally have to change aisles because people are using the deodorant or they're using the cosmetics and I can't tolerate it. I have to truly move because it just affects me so. I start getting a headache. So I agree. I completely can relate to everything you're saying there.
That's a good thing, Margie. You want that.
Yes. But
Like, folks,
I'm
this is the
back.
thing. I once, you should. I know this is a two-edged sword. I once heard from someone, we should be healthy enough where if we go to McDonald's, it's not going to kill you, right? Yes and no. Like, you might not have to have a 1 week like purge, and you don't have to experience like a whole detox after going to McDonald's. You should be healthy enough where your body can properly metabolize it, but you might get a little diarrhea, you might get a little indigestion, and rightfully so. Like, on the other end, you want to be intolerant of these things. And let me stress this. This is your evolutionary or your God-given self-defense. Because if you can walk down that cleaning aisle, and like Margie's saying, if you could be around somebody that is just reeks, permeating this chemical scent, and if it doesn't bother you, that's not a good sign. And what that is, and this is neuroscience 101, y'all. I'm not making this up. Because everything that we smell, there's a direct, immediate impulse that goes to the brain through the olfactory system. And the more that I'm learning about the sense of smell, the power of olfaction, we see how it triggers so many different neurological responses in the brain through the limbic system, where your mood, your memory, your emotions, your autonomic function, your heart rate, your breathing rate. And it's your body's God-given defense to say something's not good here. So I don't know, whatever your theological background is, go 1,000,000 years ago, go back 10,000 years ago, wherever you want to go back to where our ancestors were trying to determine if someplace was safe or not to live or camp for a minute. If there is strong smells of sulfur or other things that could potentially lead to sickness or disease, they would be so sensitive to the smell, they wouldn't want to stay there. Or if they were trying to figure out, hey, can I eat this food? Is this something healthy for me? It was oftentimes the smell that would give them a trigger whether or not something was healthy or not. We see this through the animal kingdom all over. We desensitize their sense of smell in a dangerous way. So if you can walk down that cleaning aisle, if you can go, like I was saying, the bathroom that is at your friend's house, it just has all those chemicals, and not get a negative reaction, that means you've literally desensitized your sense of smell, and you need to get it back. Because when you put, for example, your hand into the fire, the pain sensation makes you jerk it back. Pain's good. Inflammation's good. It protects you. It saves you. If you kept your hand in the fire, your hand's going to burn, literally burn off if you keep it there long enough. Pain is a good thing. Smell is a good thing. And so once you separate yourself, and it's so simple, like to literally detox is just to avoid. You just avoid that stuff. You throw away the aerosols, the plugins, the poo-poo sprays. You start to slowly go scent-free on your body care, cleaning products. Within a few weeks, month at the most, your life will transform. You'll be more sensitive to good smell. You'll be more drawn. Your flavor is just going to start popping. Food's going to taste so much better. You're going to have so much more emotional and mental stability and peace than maybe you never even recognize, just because of all the things that are around you. You'll find things like you'll start to lose weight a little bit. And we've had dozens of people tell us that kind of followed us over the years that say, hey, all I did was I started using unscented stuff and swapped out some products, and I just lost 5 pounds. I lost 10 pounds, one woman said. I didn't exercise different. I didn't eat different. My bones feel better. My joints feel better. I have more energy, because basically you're just taking away that toxic inflammatory burden, and the body starts to heal. So that is a really, really important point. And our nose should be a good litmus test for us. And now you'll be drawn by your smell in a significant way, where now when you go outside, and I think we talked about this last time I was on your show, forest bathing or spending some time in nature, you're going to get so much more of a therapeutic effect on that. And it does help balance your emotions, reduce stress, cortisol levels, and increases interleukins and natural killer cells that fight inflammation, that lead to osteoporosis, fights cancer-causing agents in your body just by being outside. And that lasts for weeks. It's just not a one and done kind of thing because the body's healing mechanism is triggered. So this whole concept of this, again, why do we do these little fun recipes? Why do we have all this stuff on our blog? Is this concept of we're trying to live a less inflammatory lifestyle, and we're calling it our anti-inflammatory life. So whether it's something that we're going to put in our mouth and eat or drink, put on our skin, clean with, whatever it might be, we think, is this going to trigger inflammation? And it becomes so second nature now. You're not going to have to worry about the label ingredients and anything anymore. When you really start looking at it from a big picture, like, is this going to harm me? Is this going to cause inflammation? Is it not? And it gets really simple, really quick. Truly, the less ingredients, the better. If you can't pronounce it, probably not a good thing, unless it's a Latin name, like, Lavandula gustifolia. Like, you might not be able to pronounce that, but that's good because that's a Latin name for lavender. But when you look at all those chemical names, you're like, okay, what's going on here? So, when we look at, I want to quote this other study because you asked me about the recent research on essential
I
oils.
just have to say one thing before you start. One of my first jobs was working at McDonald's. So I was there every day eating fish fillets and everything. I had no issues whatsoever. If I were to do that today, oh my goodness, because it's so just like you said, your body can get used to whatever, and it's not necessarily a good thing. But I just had to
No.
share that because I remember those days.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe, I don't know, we could kind of go unpack the layer. Like, how regular were your bowel movements?
I
Like,
don't
were you dealing
remember.
with gas and bloating? Did you have low libido? Did you have brain fog? Like, when you look at, because I used to live that way too. And I'm like, I didn't know what feeling good felt like.
Yeah, it's just like it's interesting. My husband has an issue with gluten. And so then I went totally gluten free just because our house was gluten free. I didn't really have an issue. But now, because I've eliminated from my body, if I have it, I feel horrible. So it's so interesting how when we eliminate things and then, our body gets used to another way of living, it's very, very interesting. Anyway, continue. Yes, I would love
Yeah.
you to tell about the
It's
next.
kind of like and I think, Margie, this is really important for everyone because it's like our body adapts. And it's not like, I always think whenever I teach about this, I always think about my clothes. I'm not, right now I am, but 5 seconds ago, I wasn't feeling my clothes, right? You feel the sensation of touch when you put your clothes on, possibly when you move abruptly. But can you imagine feeling the rubbing of your shirt, your undergarments all day long, all day? You go crazy. You couldn't handle it. So the body, okay, we have clothes on. It's not bad for us. This is good. So the body says, okay, we're adapting to this. It's fine. So the sensation of touch stops as an impulse to your brain to say that it is on your skin. Otherwise, you'll go literally crazy. Same thing with breathing. Do you realize you just took a breath 5 seconds ago? No, you just totally forgot. The whole sensation of breathing just left you because your body adapted to it. Not it took it for granted, but it really is a survival mechanism so you don't go crazy nuts. Same thing with that, like you're talking about, because your body will numb the pain. Even though there's damage being done, it's just by the grace of God. Otherwise, you won't be able to live. And your body will just suppress those feelings, knowing that there's nothing else I could do because you keep on, stop poisoning me. Stop poisoning me. It's like the first time, and I hate to see it. By the way, I have 7 kids, so I'm kind of sensitive to things that people do to their kids. I hate going to a birthday party and the 1-year-old just gets this like huge piece of just sugar junk cake that no human being should eat. And they stuff their face with the cake. And next thing you know, you see the kid throw up half an hour later. It's like, what did you just like, what did you just do to your baby? Like, that was the body saying, I can't handle this pure human being that hasn't been hurt yet by bad toxins. And 50 years you're stuffing your face and your body's like, okay, I'm used to this. I'm not going to vomit anymore. Right? So just say that to say this. And this is really, really key. Yes, we have to listen to our body, but we sometimes have to retrain our body to listen better because we've numbed our body. We have numbed our body through medication, through long-term exposure, and it adapts. So we need to trigger that sense of smell back, trigger that intolerance to things that aren't good for us back. And, it's became more of a a pointed issue during COVID because so many people lost their sense of smell, right? After COVID, and still do. It's been 5 years, right? Some 4 years whenever they extracted the virus and got sick. And what do? I can't smell. And so there's been more research about how to retrain your sense of smell, and you can. And there's a little bit of debate of this, to my understanding, in the neurology community. But out of all the nerves in the brain, the olfactory nerves are those that are known to regenerate, which means you can restore your sense of smell if you lost it. Now, of course, the nerves pass through your olfactory system through the cribriform plate, which is this little bone, very thin bone that kind of like sliced cheese that has a lot of holes in it. So when you have head trauma, oftentimes that cribriform plate will move in such a sharp, quick motion that it literally severs nerves that will then permanently will prevent you from being able to smell. Yet there is research suggesting that it might not be as permanent as once thought because they could slowly potentially regrow. And that is something that we've never thought about because it's always been nerves gone, you're never going to get them back. Kind of like a bone, right? I mean, your hand gets cut off, you're not going to grow another hand, right? And so that's powerful because when you look at how truly, just think about this, how important the sense of smell is. You evolved / God designed your body to the point where you need sense of smell so much that they will regenerate those nerves if destroyed or if damaged or potentially severed.
Yeah.
And we don't, yeah. So with that, I want to encourage y'all to just appreciate that and do a little digging in. Like I've done more and more diving into the healing power of smell and what it impacts us on so many levels. And when it comes to aromatherapy, most people think of, hey, I'm just going to smell it, which is great. Yet you can apply this and should topically. And to answer your question, you can ingest it because those are the 3 primary ways. And so if you are, for example, wanting to treat osteoporosis, help with joint issues, bone issues, then yes, the aromatherapy aspect, traditional aromatherapy can help reduce stress, inflammation. That could help, holistically. But that's not going to help regrow bone, or it's not going to help stop the breakdown of bone. And that's why we're seeing there's one study in 2023 I want to quote here because researchers, it was an in vitro study. So kind of put into perspective, this is cells in a petri dish, right? And these researchers evaluated 8 commercially available essential oil compounds. We already talked about limonene. I talked about cinnamaldehyde, right? Those are 2 key ones. Carvacrol, thymol, think thyme, alpha-pinene, think pine, right? A lot of these scientific names come from the name itself. And what they found was fantastically intuitive, but also eye-opening in a lot of ways. And I want to quote this because these are the 2 that keep on coming back, especially as people age. So if you're getting older, you need citrus oils and cinnamon bark in your life. Here's why. I already mentioned Alzheimer's, and this can help with osteoporosis. Based on this research, it could be assumed that cinnamaldehyde, again, from cinnamon bark, and limonene, which we see from citrus oils, orange oil specifically, has the highest concentration of limonene, anyone else on the planet, of any oil that we know of today, and all the others, bergamot, grapefruit, lime, lemon, the list goes on. So cinnamaldehyde and limonene are the most promising among all tested essential oil-derived compounds. And they're encouraging people to look at this more in the potential in chemoprevention or treatment of osteoporosis, since they not only accelerated the proliferation, this is the key, they accelerated the proliferation of pre-osteoblast. Again, we're talking growth of bone, but also significantly enhanced osteocalcin synthesis by pre-osteoblast levels. And it's like they're looking at the mesenchymal stem cells and how we actually can treat the stem cells at the root. And I'm not a bone expert. I don't claim to be. I've done a lot of research on essential oils. Yet when I do a literature review and I see things like this, that cinnamaldehyde treatment led to a threefold increase in the mineral deposition, and limonene did a twofold increase in mineralization. That is something that we need to think twice about. And how do you enjoy that benefit? You have to apply topically, and you would have to ingest. And that's not to say you're going to drink cinnamon oil or you're going to drink orange oil. But research suggests, and there's a traditional aromatherapy that give us good guidance on how to properly apply them topically or ingest them. And always ingest if you are going to. First off, a couple little things. These essential oils are very potent. And if misused, I should say, if used improperly, they could interact with certain pharmaceuticals that you're on. So just be careful and always contact your pharmacist or your medical doctor, and hopefully they support your goal into a more natural lifestyle. Because if your doctor says, hey, just don't take it, it's not safe or good, that doctor has no idea what they're talking about. I mean, just bluntly. I'm hoping that you have a medical team that's open to herbs, supplements, essential oils. And if they're not educated in that, which most aren't, at least a pharmacist should know if there's any contraindications. This book, my last book, The Essential Oils Apothecary, I have all, at this point, it's a couple years old, but I have all known contraindications of any drug that we see on the market that people, I should say more popular drugs, more commonly prescribed drugs and over-the-counters. And I don't see anything overtly concerning about cinnamaldehyde, cinnamon, or citrus oils that concern me. That would prevent someone from taking like 2 drops in a gel capsule, for example, or maybe putting 1 drop in a smoothie. Like I consume a drop of cinnamon oil every day, maybe 2, depends on my dropper, in my matcha latte. And I like making a nice matcha latte. I put some almond or coconut milk in it, which acts as a carrier because it's a fatty substance. So imagine you're making a latte and you just put a drop of essential oil in your milk, and then you could put coffee or matcha, whatever it is that you like. That's a very safe, minor therapeutic dose, but it also gets the essential oil in your body. And I know it's out of the context of this in vitro study. But again, if we're trying to get the essential oil circulating through our bloodstream, that is the most effective way throughout the body. And also, when you apply them topically, especially over a particular area, joint issue or bone issue that you have, we know that those essential oil compounds are going to be penetrating your bloodstream within about 5 minutes. And they will actually go into the cellular level because they're transdermal. They seep right through. So
Wow.
that's something, it's something to consider.
We can talk for so long, but a lot of people have pain in their joints. So what's one of your favorites? Because you have so many, and I love these cards. We'll have all the
Yeah.
links, Dr. Z, for your books, for these cards. They can just get that on Amazon, correct? It's just
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's really exciting, and you've sort of done all the research for people. I use essential oils a lot in my life because I find them so helpful. But what's your favorite? What's your favorite for people who are their knees are sore, joint pain? What's your favorite things that you like to tell people to do?
Yeah, think about what you're going to see at the pharmacy, right? You'll get eucalyptus menthol, you'll get a tiger balm, you get menthol seems to be a common ingredient for a good reason. It's anti-inflammatory, and that would mean we start with peppermint essential oil. So essentially all the different things that you're seeing at the pharmacy, they're extracting one of the chemicals that they get in nature, and then they're just putting preservatives and other things in it to make it last longer and maybe be more potent. So peppermint first and foremost. And all of the oils in the in the minty world, wintergreen, spearmint, all that. I mentioned limonene, and I'm going to mention that again because there's a reason these oils help with bone mineralization and helping bone regrowth. And partly is because of the anti-inflammatory component. And limonene is very anti-inflammatory, which is extremely helpful, right? If you're dealing with sore joints and pain. And that means you can mix simply. You could get like a teaspoon of, let's say, olive oil. If you want to do something just like super easy, and this is something that we've done with our kids. One of our children just got was sick, not feeling well a few days ago, and we did the very exact same thing that I'm going to tell you. We took a couple teaspoons of coconut oil, 2 drops of peppermint, 2 drops of orange, and we applied that. We gave the baby a back rub and a foot rub and a tummy rub, and they're going through like a little stomach bug. And they had a fever. Fever dropped immediately because, again, it's super soothing, anti-inflammatory. But what you could do is even add maybe, let's say, 3 drops of peppermint, 3 drops of orange oil. And that is a pretty potent, strong, but it's diluted because you have a carrier, coconut oil, olive oil, whatever you might have on hand, avocado oil, beef tallow. Everyone's on beef tallow now, whatever, anything fatty. And then you can apply that right over your joints. And here's the thing that we try to encourage people to do is make batches, right? I mean, my wife is wonderfully efficient because again, we have 7 children. So she's wonderfully efficient at batch cooking. If she's going to make, vegan taco salad today, well, why not make 2 of them so we're ready for next week kind of mentality. So instead of just making one single dose, imagine you put like a half a cup of coconut oil, and then you put 20 drops of orange and 20 drops of peppermint. And now you have your go-to pain oil that will last you, quite frankly, a couple weeks. And you can apply that on your skin as needed, a few times a day at least, right? So that's just one little idea, one little thought, right? But all the citrus oils are rich in limonene, which will help. I mentioned alpha pinene. That would be a chemical that would be also not in the pine tree oils, but also frankincense. And frankincense has been used for thousands of years as a resin, as a healing agent. And we can see that frankincense by itself or mixed with other oils like myrrh. It's something that, again, you apply topically as needed. A lot of these oils are very safe. Quite frankly, most are to ingest. And you got to do a little bit of research. And that's why we have resources in our books and in our websites to kind of say, hey, before you just start drinking essential oils all day long, do a little due diligence to make sure. But this kind of opens up a whole nother world of like, okay, I think since the last time we talked, Margie, there was research done on copaiba. Copaiba is a resin from a tree, and it's become wildly popular, at least in the States, because some of the bigger companies started selling it, and like, again, supply and demand. And copaiba works similarly to cannabis, to CBD, in that it triggers the CB receptors, the CB2 specifically, the CB2 receptors in the endocannabinoid system. So you have this body, right, that has receptors all throughout it. And the reason why CBD has become so popular is because the endocannabinoid system, which is a primary system in our body, which triggers pain, inflammation, and does a lot of different healing processes and controls a lot of what our bodily function does. That's why a lot of folks are finding great results with CBD, mental health, emotional health, physical health, just the list goes on. And copaiba works in a very similar way because, again, it interacts with and it triggers, it responds to, connects with the CB2 receptors, and it can immediately reduce pain and inflammation. And the list goes on and on. I mean, Margie, it's wild. And I guess I'll leave everyone with this.
I just have one thing before you leave, everyone.
Yeah.
You're talking about all these great things and it's wonderful. And you have so many resources. So I'll have all of those in the show notes. But one thing is when people are choosing, like you said in the beginning, oh, you can get this at Walmart. Are there a couple things people need to know so that they choose the appropriate essential oils and they don't pick one that really isn't what it says it is?
Yeah. Good question. And there needs to be, and one thing I want to be careful of is we're not aligned to, or we don't affiliate with, or we're not selling a particular brand. And that's something that we've held true now for the last 10 years plus. And there's a variety of reasons why we do that. So what we do is we actually teach people, how to even find a good company. And there are several. And if you want to go to one of the multi-level marketing companies, I'm sure they sell really good oils. Do due diligence in this, that we should see a level of transparency in the company that you're going to buy from. Meaning this, there are batch specific reports that state what's in the oil. And now that I know of, every oil company that we buy from, that's publicly available right on the website. So if you see a bottle of lemon on the website, you should see what's known as a GCMS, a gas chromatography mass spectrometry. It's basically the batch report. And can you imagine if the supplement industry did that? Because you typically don't see that. And it's a layer of transparency that says, hey, this is the chemical analysis of what's in. And I'll just tell you flat out, no company is going to spend tens of thousands of dollars in all these tests to publish a report that says their product is adulterated, right? They're going to, hopefully, right, they're being honest. They're going to take that product off the shelves. They're going to get a good product. They're going to put it on the shelf that passed their metrics. So basically, I don't expect you to be a chemist. I'm not a chemist. But what these reports do, they basically give you the executive summary of whether or not something is fake or not. And it's right there. So that's one level of just layers of I should say, guardrails that we need to uphold. The other thing is price. I mentioned frankincense. It could get pricey. You're not going to find a bottle of frankincense for $5. So when you're going to Walmart, the big box stores, and you're seeing like dirt cheap oils, there's a reason they're that cheap. I mean, like you truly cannot get a gallon of gas at the store or at the gas station for a quarter anymore. It's just impossible. Just because of how much crude oil costs in the processes. So when you're looking at how much it actually costs to get the frankincense resin and finally get it to the bottle, I mean, you're looking at $20, $30, $40, $50 plus per bottle. So that's one thing to consider, right? Price, it should be more than maybe what you're seeing at the big box, cheap $2 bottle stores. And also that level of transparency. And most importantly, friends. I know you have a great community, Marjorie. I would encourage people, like even, below, like, hey, what kind of essential oils y'all use? What do you recommend? You're going to get everyone and their grandmother giving the recommendations. That's a great place to start too. But just know there are several different companies that sell good oils. And you don't have to worry about it as much if you just take that mindset. I don't buy my stuff on Amazon. I'm getting it directly from the company, from their website, or a distributor, someone that belongs to one of the multi-love level companies, right? So there are a lot of options for you.
Okay, so you wanted to end. You had something to end on, but I wanted just to ask you that question. You had something you were all about to say, and I interrupted you because I don't want people going out like, but he said not to get from Walmart. What did he mean?
Yeah. I just want to encourage everyone, like this is a lot. Like this is a different mentality than what we're seeing now. I think when I look back to 10 years ago, there was this DIY movement. This was before TikTok, right? This was before the huge Instagram boom. There's been this shift away from doing things ourselves. And I'm actually been kind of shocked because I thought the movement was going to continue to a place where people were going to like do more, right? More gardening, maybe more DIY, kind of go back to, I don't want to say traditional homemaking, but more traditional living where the power is back to us. Because ultimately, y'all, here's what we're doing. Every time we buy a product, it's everything. Every time you go to the doctor for anything, every time you spend money on something that you regularly could make or easily make yourself, you're giving like a little piece of your power away. And I saw this very clearly during COVID, and it just hit me when everyone was freaking out, right? And they went to the store and they bought whatever they were trying to buy. And the store shelves were kind of wild. If you remember 5 years ago, like what was empty at the store 5 years ago? Well, beer, milk, eggs, bread, condoms, right? Obviously, right? Like again, there's no condoms here. And soap, like no hand soap. It was kind of, obviously we're thinking about this virus. We want to wash our hands, but hand sanitizer, hand soap. And I had my little aha moment because we didn't worry like about any of that, but we specifically didn't worry about the soap thing. Why? Because we make our own soap, but we save thousands of dollars, Margie, every year. Granted, we have 9 people in my home, so we use a lot more soap and hand sanitizers and cleaning products than the average home. But the average person, single, one other roommate, spouse, whatever, you will save hundreds of dollars, if not thousands plus, up to $2,000 plus just by making your own soaps and simple cleaning sprays. And there's something that shifts when next pandemic, next zombie apocalypse, where everyone's going to the store to buy something. You could look back and be like, okay, I'm not going to make my own toilet paper, because that was the other thing that most store shelves had. Remember, toilet paper, paper towels, soap, hand sanitizer, all that stuff gone. You couldn't find it for days, weeks at some stores. But knowing that you have some things at your disposal that you can make, that is one of the most empowering things an individual has. Knowing that, man, I have an ache or a pain, I know what to do. I have a ready-made remedy that I could go to. I don't have to run to the pharmacy right now. You know, next time there is maybe a minor ankle sprain or a bump or a bruise, you don't feel like you need to run to the urgent care or the emergency room. Because the reality is 50 to 75%, and this is from doctors, not me, 50 to 75% of all ER visits are completely not medically necessitated, meaning they shouldn't be there. People should be icing things. That's simply what they do. They stabilize and ice and send people out the door with a painkiller. That happens a lot. So just imagine we flip the script on that for just a second. And that's really why I love essential oils. And it's not like a big sales pitch to buy my little deck on Amazon. No, yeah, the cards are fun. You could buy some things or make some stuff, but imagine a world where you're growing your own herbs in your New York City apartment, or you have a raised bed, little garden in your backyard if you live in the suburbs like us, and you're making your own tomatoes that you can make your own pasta sauce or can some salsa. That whole experience is what our just great grandparents lived on, because they had to. And there's such an empowerment where we know that we can take care of ourselves. And I think we're missing that. And that's one of my favorite things about this essential oil lifestyle that we've embraced, or this DIY lifestyle. And quite frankly, essential oils are just a key part of it, because they are the flavor, they are the fragrance, they are the antimicrobial component that you really need, unless you're going to go to bleach and go to all those other things. So I just want to encourage y'all, because once you start on this path, then you really start to become your own doctor, and you really start to rely on yourself, where it puts you in a better position as you get older to have better conversations with your doctor and your pharmacist about what's better for you, instead of just listening and following because that's what they told you to do. And so ultimately it puts you in the driver's seat, and it gives you authority. It gives you space. It gives you agency that, quite frankly, the last 2 generations, we've just given away. We've given away. So we're trying to put your healthcare provider in their proper place. Your medical doctor is not your God. He or she does not know all things. And that mentality needs to be shifted back. Like, you know what? I know what's best for me. I'm going to take their advice. I'm going to take the advice of this crazy guy talking about essential oils on YouTube, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to give this some prayerful consideration, because ultimately it's me making the decision, and I have the power and the wisdom and the knowledge to do with what I need to do with.
Wow. And this audience is, we are ones that we look deeper. We know, we don't just follow what's out there. So that's so aligned with what everything I talk about as well. And I think when we live that way, just so much is possible. And I just love what you've shared. And, you have such great resources, and you've done so much research to help all of us. So I thank you so much. And it's always a pleasure. I can't imagine what the next 10 years will bring.
Thanks,
So
Mark.
thank you so much for joining me today, Dr. Z. And I'll have all your information for people, where to access it. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Dr. Z as much as I did, and now have a new perspective on essential oils and how they can add so much into your life. All the links that Dr. Z talks about will be in the show notes. So thanks again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.